think there are very big differences between the West and the East when it comes to the self. You know, the West believes that the most important thing is the self, being true to the self. Therefore, that means that freedom of speech trumps everything else, freedom of expression, freedom of movement. Anything that might impede the self is seen as extremely important. From the Eastern point of view, the self is not the most important unit. You know, the society is the most important unit, particularly often the family. I'm Gish Jen, and I'm a novelist. I also write some nonfiction. From the beginning, if I look back, sort of trying to understand what China was, you know, where this place was that my parents had come from, why they had come here, how that had happened. From the very beginning, that was a very important part of my writing mission, if you will. Just as I was sitting down to tiger writing, my father, who was then 86, had decided to write a memoir. And of course I was very excited about that because I'd always wanted to know more about his early years in China. But my father's an engineer, so his memoir took the form of a series of emails addressed to me. As the emails came in, I was completely flabbergasted because they didn't look anything like any memoir that I had ever seen. Like, to begin with, he didn't mention his birth. You know, theoretically, his birth should have been on page 1, right? It should have started, well, I was born in such and such a year. No, no, no. My father did not mention his birth at all until the 8th email, and then it was just in parentheses in conjunction with another event, you know? And I said, well, that is very weird. He wrote a lot about the house that he lived in. There was much more about the house than it was about anyone's personality.
Those fish was rather big, 10 to 15 inches long, in black or golden colors. I would get up in the morning, stay under the shade for a few hours, just to watch those fishes.
All of this was just so strange and, like I say, so unlike, you know, the American fictive tradition. This is my father going back to his family's summer garden. And, you know, it had been a long, long time since he had seen his boyhood home, which really meant a lot to him. Western art was not always so individualistic. And so if you look back in the Middle Age and so on, you know, you'll see, for instance, everybody painted the Madonna and Child. But, you know, as you get into the 20th century, you know, you will see that in America, it's just going more and more individualistic. It's being original is the most important thing. Being singular is the most important thing. And you see that in the art. It is inimitable, right? So no one else has done it. No one else would think to do it. Only you could do that. So the idea that it is unique is very, very important. In China, not so much so. You know, you look at the Chinese art, and most of it is referencing something else. I mean, you know, there's something about it which makes it the painter's own, but nonetheless, you know, kind of the vocabulary can be quite set. The connoisseur. That what's important is that you have mastered this tradition, and that you have you've added something to it, but you've added something to it after mastering it. And so it's a very different idea about you know, what the highest achievement might be. Are you refining the past? Are you adding something to the past? Are you a custodian of this really very great tradition from which you come? Or are you setting out to start the world over, you know, starting with you, you know, as if, you know, no one has ever picked up a paintbrush before. This Van Gogh's grandfathers I've been fascinated from the beginning, by Chinese painting. I've always felt that there was something in it that I recognized, and today I can say it much better. The fact that writing and painting are all together and all on the same. In the West we don't have this where people just paint right on the painting because we have kind of separate categories, and the painting itself is kind of like an